As I'm playing Path of Exile 2, I see a lot of the same problems and complaints people are having about the game in terms of difficulty. And with it being a harder game, that's definitely expected. But it really is a knowledge issue, partially a skill issue, but also mostly a knowledge issue that can be remedied with just learning the systems and understanding how a lot of these things work. So I'm hoping with this video, I can help alleviate some of those problems. And so this will be the top 5 mistakes that I see people making in Path of Exile 2. Coming in at number 1, we have not checking the vendor for upgrades every level. This is easily the most important thing you can do to ensure that you have the most chances of finding upgrades throughout your campaign. Vendors can easily sell upgrades, whether they be blues with potential or yellows that are just flat out better than your current gear. So of course that begs the question, how do you know if it's an upgrade? Which, while checking vendors is easily the most important mistake, the next mistake I see is number 2, not prioritizing the right stats on gear. Prioritizing the right stats can make or break a build. Now, every character is going to have different stats that they want to prioritize, but this is going to be a general rule to follow when building any character. When it comes to weapons, there are multiple types of weapons in the game, but it really comes down to spellcaster weapons versus martial weapons. Martial weapons are going to want to be finding increases to flat damage. That can be any elemental damage, or that could be physical damage. Those are going to be the top finds that you can find on there. Now, of course, there are percentage to physical damage, which is really good. Percentage to elemental damage, which can be really good if you're an elemental build. And there is the possibility to roll plus to your skills. This one is a little bit harder to find and is more of a top-end god tier weapon rather than something you should be looking for all the time. Now, when it comes to armor, the chest piece is going to be your most important thing for defensive capabilities. And what we're looking for on armor is going to be plus to resistances, as well as increases to maximum life. On boots, you're gonna, of course, if you find movement speed on those, that can be really helpful. And when it comes to rings are really good for rounding out what you're lacking in resistances. So now you know what stats you are looking for on potential upgrades on all of your pieces. Now, you may be asking, what do you do when you find said items? Well, that brings us to our third mistake, not using orbs of transmutation or orbs of augmentation often enough. When it comes to a magic item that you really like, you can go ahead and hold Alt while hovering over it to see how many modifiers you have on it. Magic items can have a maximum of 2. So when you see that you have 1, you can go ahead and use an orb of augmentation on it to give it another 1. And let's say you really like that roll, which this one happened to roll pretty well. You can go ahead and take a regal orb to upgrade it to a rare to further increase the chances of making this a much better item. Now, the upgrade path can start as early as white items, turning any drop you find into potential. All you need is an orb of transmutation. Go ahead and take it over to it, make it into a magic item, and see what you roll. This one happened to be pretty good and still only has 1 modifier. It can be confusing. This is why you hold Alt. This is a combination of modifiers. So it looks like 2, but it's actually 1. So that means we can go ahead and apply another 1 to it. And I still really like that item. So we'll go ahead and take the Regal Orb and make it into a rare. This is usually where I would stop unless you are endgame, and we are not talking about that. We are just talking about leveling. So I would save exalts until you are endgame. And this form of upgrading can be applied throughout the entire game. You are going to find plenty of orbs of augmentation and orbs of transmutation, so I would recommend spamming those out as much as possible. So now you know what you're doing with gear that rolls well. What about the gear that you're not going to be using? This will bring us into the 4th mistake that I see players doing, and that is not knowing what to do when it comes to salvaging, disenchanting, or selling gear. First, we will start off with disenchanting. Disenchanting, I am going to recommend you stick to only disenchanting yellows, aka rares. This will give you regal shards, which turn into regal orbs, which allow you to upgrade magics to rares. Then we come to salvaging. Salvaging is only for items of quality and with rune sockets in them. Quality is a bit of a confusing thing, but really all it does is buff the base stat of the item. And the only way to see it is actually by mousing over the item, whether it's on the ground or in your inventory. And it'll show quality plus whatever percent. You can take those to the salvage bench and salvage them. When you salvage items with rune sockets, you get artificer's shards. When you salvage items with quality, you get blacksmith's whetstones. Both are very important in upgrading your gear. And then finally we come to selling things. Now this is going to be mostly important in the early game, but also still kind of important in the late game for refunding passives and, you know, trying to respec a tree. Especially in the early game, you're going to want to pick up every item you possibly can and sell them off as much as possible. Even if you're only getting 4 gold a pop, it still adds up over time. And this can help you afford the weapons that you find in the shop, or maybe gambling if you're, you know, feeling a little frisky. So by now you've probably noticed that there is a bit of a theme when it comes to the mistakes that I see. And it really mostly pertains to gearing your character through the leveling process. However, the final mistake is going to be a bit of a change of pace, with that being missing bosses that give bonuses. In the world of Path of Exile, there are many different bosses to fight. However, not all of them are equal. As you can see on the map, there are skulls indicating bosses. The ones that we are looking at are the ones with little plus signs at the bottom left of their symbol. These can give various bonuses, from resistances, passive skill points, to even spirit, which is very important for passive buffs on your character. When you're searching the map, it is highly recommended, almost necessary, to do all of these to ensure that your character stays at a consistent power level. Not doing these can lead to you missing out on specific key nodes in your passive skill tree, good amounts of resistance, and obviously spirit. And with that being said, that brings the conclusion of this top 5 mistakes video. I hope that this can help anybody out there that is still struggling with the game. I know it's a very hard game to figure out, but I know that you can do it. It is not nearly as complicated as it seems to be. It is just a lot of front-loaded information that you just need to sift through, and hopefully I have helped you guys understand. If this little video helped you guys at all, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear that I'm helping you guys move forward with your characters and, you know, making it a little bit easier for you guys. Also, if you can feel like it, you know, leave a like. It's totally free, you know, so it's not that hard. And maybe even subscribe. That would be sick. Let's get to 1,000 one day. That would be cool as frick, dude. I mean, not even gonna lie, 1,000 people subscribing to me, that would make me cream my pants a little bit. All right, anyway, getting a little unprofessional there. Hope you all enjoy and have fun out there in the Path of Exile 2. Peace.